Ladies, I think you two should leave before this gets messy for everyone. Sergeant Ryan Hale's voice cut through the bass-heavy music pulsing through the Midnight Parlor, a downtown Atlanta nightclub notorious for being off-duty military territory on Friday nights. Neon blue and purple lights cast shadows across his face as he and his two colleagues, Corporal Bryce Holt and Specialist Connor Hayes, formed a tight semicircle around the Twins VIP booth. Maya and Mia Brooks, 36-year-old identical twins, sat with untouched cocktails between them. The strobing lights caught the gold in Maya's hoop earrings as she slowly raised her eyes to meet Ryan's stare. Her expression was unreadable. Too calm for someone being cornered by three intoxicated soldiers. "Is there a problem, Sergeant?" Maya asked, her voice carrying that dangerous kind of quiet that people mistake for weakness. Ryan's chest puffed out. "The problem is this section is reserved. You two clearly didn't get the memo about who runs things here." Mia, sitting to Maya's left, finally looked up from her phone. Her gaze swept over the three men with the clinical assessment of someone cataloging threats. No fear registered in her eyes, only the tired patience of someone who'd survived the scene 100 times before. "Reserved." Mia's voice was silk over steel. "Funny. We paid for this booth. Receipt and everything." Bryce, the stockiest of the three, leaned forward with a sneer. "Don't play dumb. You know what we mean. This club is our spot. We don't need outsiders making it complicated." Connor, the youngest and clearly the drunkest, swayed as he pointed an unsteady finger. Especially when those outsiders look like they're fishing for attention from the wrong crowd. Several nearby clubgoers turned their heads, but most pretended not to notice. It was the kind of confrontation that smart people avoided. Three off-duty soldiers, visibly armed even in civilian clothes, versus two black women who had apparently committed the crime of existing in the wrong VIP section. Maya and Mia exchanged the briefest glance. Half a second. But in that micro-moment, an entire conversation passed between them. Years of shared survival tactics, of knowing when to fight and when to tactically withdraw, of reading danger with the precision of people trained for it. What Ryan Hale didn't know, what he couldn't imagine, was that this pause wasn't submission. It was calculation. Maya was mentally cataloging everything. Ryan's unprotected right flank, Bryce's hand hovering near the concealed firearm at his hip, Connor's impaired balance and delayed reaction time. Mia, meanwhile, had already identified 4 security cameras, calculated the distance to 3 exits, and noticed that the club owner, Tessa, was watching the scene unfold from behind the bar, her expression darkening with each passing second. "Listen," Maya said evenly, setting her glass down with deliberate care. "We're just here for a quiet night. No drama. We'll finish our drinks and go. Simple." "No." Ryan slammed his palm on the table, making the glasses jump. "You leave now. And you thank me for being nice about it." A memory flashed through Maya's mind. She was 16, walking home with Mia after basketball practice. 2 cops had stopped them for no reason. "Where'd you steal those shoes?" one had asked, as if 2 black girls in Nikes were automatically suspect. That day, they'd swallowed their humiliation and complied, the anger burning silent and deep. But they weren't 16 anymore. "You know," Mia said softly, reaching for her wallet in a motion so slow it bordered on theatrical. "It might be smart to see some identification. Just to confirm you're actually who you say you are." Ryan's face flushed dark. "Are you challenging me?" Bryce put a hand on Ryan's shoulder, his survival instincts finally kicking in. "Man, let it go. They're leaving." There was something about the twins' composure that activated warning bells in his brain, a calmness that didn't come from fear but from confidence. Connor, however, was too drunk to read the room. "You know what your problem is?" He jabbed a finger toward Mia. "You walk in here like you own the place. Like you're better than us. This is our city. You're just visitors." "Visitors," Maya repeated slowly. The word hung in the air, sharp as broken glass. Interesting choice of words. Ryan grabbed Maya's shoulder, his grip deliberately rough. "Get up. Now." The entire club seemed to hold its breath. Even the DJ's beat felt muted. Maya and Mia stood in perfect unison, their movements synchronized with unsettling precision. They were the same height, the same athletic build that their sleek dresses couldn't hide. "We're leaving," Maya said. "But you're going to regret how you handled this." Ryan laughed. Loud, ugly. "Oh yeah. What are you gonna do, file a complaint? Call your lawyer?" "You have no idea who you're talking to, do you?" Mia asked. But it wasn't a threat. It was almost pity. Connor sneered. "I don't care if you're Beyoncé's cousins. Here you're nothing." The twins moved toward the exit, the three soldiers trailing close behind. Bryce felt ice crawl down his spine but couldn't explain why. Maybe it was the way the sisters moved. Not hurried, not frightened, but with the fluid precision of people entirely in control. When they reached the club side exit leading to the alley, Maya stopped and turned. "Last chance," she said quietly. "Apologize. Walk away." Ryan pushed his chest out. "Or what?" Maya smiled. It wasn't angry. It wasn't defiant. It was something far more dangerous. The smile of someone who's already won. "Or nothing," she replied. "Just thought it was fair to warn you." The alley behind the midnight parlor was narrow and poorly lit, the kind of space where neon signs from the street barely reached. The stench of garbage and stale beer mixed with Atlanta's humid night air. Ryan shoved Maya against the brick wall, the rough surface scraping her bare shoulder. "You want to know the problem with women like you?" His breath reeked of whiskey. "You think you can walk around acting like you're untouchable?" Connor circled Mia, stumbling slightly. "I bet you've got something illegal on you. Let's find out." His hand reached for her clutch. Bryce stood back, hand still near his concealed weapon, his instincts screaming at him to stop this. But peer pressure and alcohol drowned out caution. Maya remained perfectly still against the wall, but her eyes never stopped moving. Distances. Angles. Vulnerabilities. It was instinct now. Muscle memory from another life. Helmand Province, 2013. Colonel Maya Brooks crouched behind a compound wall, insurgents advancing. Her platoon waited for orders. 3 seconds to decide. 3 seconds where hesitation meant death. "Hey!" Ryan slapped the side of Maya's face, not hard enough to injure, but hard enough to humiliate. "I'm talking to you." "Be very careful what you do next," Mia said softly, her voice carrying a warning that Connor was too drunk to recognize. "Or what?" Connor lunged for Mia's purse, but she shifted her stance, and he stumbled forward into empty air. Ryan started patting down Maya's sides, his hands invasive and deliberate. "Let's see what we've got here." He pulled out her phone and wallet, throwing them to the ground. Expensive phone for someone who probably... "Give that back." Maya's voice dropped an octave. It wasn't a request. It was a command, the kind she was used to giving and having obeyed instantly. Ryan heard the shift and became more aggressive. Or what exactly? Naval Station Norfolk, 2016. Commander Mia Brooks inspected her intelligence unit. 20 of the sharpest analysts in the military under her command. "Control isn't about force," she told the new recruits. "It's about knowing when to use your power, and when to let your enemy destroy themselves." Connor tried to search Mia's purse, but his shaking hands fumbled. "Stand still," he ordered, but there was uncertainty creeping into his voice. Mia stood nearly as tall as him, and even relaxed. Her presence was intimidating in a way he couldn't define. "Do you have any idea how many laws you've broken in the last 10 minutes? Mia asked calmly, as if discussing the weather. "Harassment. Assault. Illegal search without warrant or probable cause." "Look at this," Ryan mocked. "Little lawyer giving us a civics lesson." Bryce finally spoke, his voice tense. "Ryan, man. That's enough. Let them go." "Since when did you go soft?" Ryan spun on him. These two need to learn respect. Across the alley, Tessa watched from the club's back entrance, her phone recording everything. She'd seen Ryan and his crew pull this routine before, picking on people they thought were defenseless. But something was different tonight. These women didn't seem scared. They seemed patient. You know what I think. Connor's courage grew with the twins' apparent passivity. I think you came here looking for trouble. Looking for attention. He poked Mia's shoulder with one finger. Maya and Mia locked eyes for half a second. Silent, tactical communication. Anyone with military training would have recognized it instantly. Ryan pulled zip-tie cuffs from his pocket. You know what? We're taking you in. Suspicious behavior. Resisting authority. We haven't resisted, Maya said, finally turning to face him fully. Yet. The word yet hung in the air like a loaded weapon. Taji, Iraq, 2014. The Brooks sisters worked a joint operation for the first time. Fear is a tool, Maya had told her younger sister. Let them think they've won. Then strike when they relax. Connor's coordination was deteriorating. You don't get how things work here, do you? He gestured wildly. This is our territory. You're just what? Mia's voice was velvet wrapped around a blade. Finish that sentence. Connor's face flushed. You're a problem that needs handling. Ryan clicked the zip ties. Hands behind your back. No. No, Maya said simply. 3 seconds of absolute silence. Ryan blinked. What? I said no. We haven't committed a crime. We're not being restrained. And if you touch me again, you'll regret it for the rest of your military career. The audacity momentarily paralyzed Ryan. People didn't talk to him like this, especially not women he'd decided were beneath him. Did you just threaten a soldier? His voice cracked. She didn't threaten, Mia corrected. She warned you. There's a difference. Bryce took a step back, his gut instincts finally winning. Guys. Seriously. Something's wrong here. Let's just go. But Ryan was too far gone, his authority publicly challenged. No. They're learning today. He pulled out his phone. I'm calling base security. We're doing this by the book. By the book, Maya laughed, a sound with no humor in it. You wouldn't recognize the book if it hit you. Connor grabbed for Mia's arm, but she simply rotated her shoulder, and his grip found only air. The movement was so smooth, so effortless it looked accidental. But Bryce saw it. And he recognized combat training when he saw it. Ryan, Bryce said urgently. Stop this now. Shut up, Bryce. The alley lights flickered. Tessa was still filming, now joined by 2 club patrons who'd followed the commotion outside. Maya glanced at her watch, military grade, unmistakable to those who knew. You have exactly 60 seconds to apologize and leave. Ryan laughed in her face. Or what? Or you'll discover, Mia said quietly, that there are very specific consequences for drunk soldiers who assault superior officers. The phrase hung in the air like a grenade with its pin pulled. Ryan frowned, processing. Superior officers? But before he could ask, Connor, at the height of his intoxication and arrogance, made the fatal error. He reached for his concealed firearm. Enough games, he slurred. And that's when everything changed. What those 3 arrogant soldiers couldn't have known was that the next 60 seconds would be recorded from 5 angles, go viral by morning, and not only end their careers but trigger a military-wide review of off-duty conduct. Because Maya and Mia Brooks weren't just twins who knew self-defense. They were precision-trained officers who'd been waiting patiently for the exact moment when their response would be legally justified, and devastatingly documented. Connor's hand never reached his weapon. Mia moved, not fast, but with surgical precision. A simple wrist lock, applied with exactly enough pressure to immobilize without injuring. Connor yelped and dropped to one knee. Maya already had her phone out, recording. Attempted assault by armed off-duty military personnel against unarmed civilians, she narrated calmly into the camera. Unprovoked escalation to lethal force. Turn that off. Ryan lunged for the phone, but Maya had already stepped back, maintaining perfect distance. Interesting, Mia said, pulling out her own phone while maintaining the wrist lock on Connor. Now we have 2 soldiers attempting to destroy evidence while committing assault. Bryce finally understood. His blood ran cold. These women weren't random civilians. The way they moved, the tactical coordination, the situational awareness, they were military. And not just military. Special operations. Ryan, Bryce said, his voice shaking. Stop. No. Please. Why? Ryan shook off Bryce's hand. They're recording? Fine. Let the world see how we deal with. How you deal with what? A crisp female voice cut through the night. A black woman in a sharp business suit emerged from a car parked at the alley's entrance, her posture radiating authority. Behind her, a man in military dress uniform followed. Because I'm Inspector Simone Clark, Department of Defense Civil Rights Investigation Unit, the woman announced, badge already in hand. And I've just witnessed 3 intoxicated soldiers commit at least 9 documented violations of the Uniform Code of Military Justice. Ryan's face drained of color. Simone approached with measured steps. Harassment based on race and gender. Assault. Attempted unlawful restraint. Abuse of authority. Shall I continue? They provoked us, Connor stammered from his knees, Mia still controlling his wrist. They started it at the club. Really? Simone raised an eyebrow, consulting her tablet. Because I have 4 video angles showing you 3 initiating contact and escalating even after multiple warnings to disengage. Mia released Connor's wrist and stepped back, crossing her arms. A slight smile played at her lips. Inspector Clark. It's been a while. Commander Brooks. Simone nodded with recognition. Then her gaze shifted to Maya. Colonel Brooks. The silence that fell over the alley was absolute. Bryce closed his eyes, understanding the full magnitude of their mistake. Ryan's mouth opened and closed soundlessly. Connor simply froze, still on his knees. Wait, Ryan finally managed. What? Maya's posture shifted subtly, no longer the casual stance of someone avoiding conflict, but the bearing of someone who commanded battalions. Colonel Maya Brooks, United States Army. Combat Command. 75th Ranger Regiment. Currently Deputy Commander at Fort Benning. Mia followed suit. Commander Mia Brooks. Naval Intelligence. Formerly Special Operations Command. Currently on assignment with the Pentagon's Joint Chiefs Advisory Panel. Reality crashed over Ryan like a collapsing building. He had harassed, assaulted, and attempted to illegally detain 2 of the highest-ranking female officers in the U.S. military. On camera. With witnesses. That doesn't. Ryan tried to salvage something. You didn't identify yourselves. We're under no obligation to identify ourselves to off-duty personnel. Maya cut him off, her voice now carrying the weight of command. And certainly not when being illegally harassed by intoxicated soldiers abusing their status. Bryce raised his hands, stepping back. There's been a mistake. We can all just forget this. Forget. Simone's laugh was sharp. 3 armed, intoxicated soldiers harassed 2 decorated superior officers, attempted illegal detention, and escalated to threatening deadly force. You think that just goes away? Connor was crying now, tears streaming down his face. We didn't know if we'd known they were officers. So it's acceptable to do this to civilians? Mia tilted her head. Is that what you're saying? That harassment is fine as long as the victims aren't military brass. The question hung heavy with implications. Ryan tried one last desperate card. It's your word against ours. 3 of us. Maya smiled, cold and sharp. Inspector, how many recordings do we have? Simone consulted her tablet. 5 angles. Club owner started filming inside. The Brooks sisters captured the parking lot and alley confrontation. I have the last 12 minutes. And, she gestured to the man in dress uniform beside her. Lieutenant Colonel Park was conducting surveillance on an unrelated matter and captured everything from his vehicle. Lieutenant Colonel Ethan Park stepped forward, his expression stern. I'm also prepared to testify that I observed Specialist Hayes reach for a concealed weapon in what appeared to be an unprovoked escalation. Connor vomited on the pavement. Additionally, Simone continued, the Midnight Parlor security system captured everything from 3 internal cameras. And it appears 2 club patrons uploaded their footage to social media, She checked her tablet. 17 minutes ago. Bryce sat down on the ground, head in his hands. It was over. Not just the night. Their careers. Their futures. Everything. What do you want? Ryan asked, his aggression crumbling into desperation. We can pay. We'll apologize. What do you want? Justice, Maya said quietly. Not just for us. For everyone you've done this to before. Because I'd bet my stars that we're not your first victims. Simone nodded. I've already pulled your records. Ryan Hale. 3 prior complaints of harassment, all mysteriously dismissed. Connor Hayes. 2 reports of excessive aggression, both buried. Bryce Holt. You're the cleanest of the 3, but you enabled them. Military police vehicles pulled into the alley, lights flashing red and blue against the brick walls. 2 MPs emerged, and Bryce recognized one, a senior NCO who'd never liked Ryan's crowd. Inspector Clark, the MP sergeant greeted. We received your call. Sergeant Rodriguez, Simone confirmed. 3 counts of assault on superior officers, attempted unlawful detention, conduct unbecoming, and violation of off-duty conduct regulations. That's just for starters. As Ryan, Connor, and Bryce were handcuffed, the irony not lost on anyone, Ryan looked at the twins one last time. How? He asked, genuinely confused. How did you set this up? Maya and Mia exchanged that look again. Silent twin communication. Then Maya looked back at Ryan. We didn't set anything up, she said calmly. You did it all yourselves. We just made sure it was documented. As the 3 soldiers were loaded into military police vehicles, Tessa approached the sisters. Thank you, she said simply. Those guys have been pulling that routine for 2 years. No one ever stood up to them. How many others? Mia asked quietly. Tessa thought for a moment. Dozens. Maybe more. Always the same targets. Women, minorities, anyone they thought couldn't fight back. Maya nodded slowly. What had started as self-defense was rapidly becoming something bigger. Simone put away her tablet. You're both free to go. I'll need formal statements tomorrow, but for tonight, she paused. Is there anything else you want to tell me about those 3? The sisters looked at each other. That silent communication only twins who'd survived war zones together could share. Maybe, Maya said finally. But first, we need to make some calls. By 3 a.m., the video had 4.2 million views. Hashtag military accountability was trending nationally. Every angle of the confrontation was there. The harassment at the club, the threats in the alley, Connor reaching for his weapon, and worst of all, their faces, full names, and ranks displayed in every frame. The comments section exploded. Other victims came forward. Stories of similar harassment. Names of other soldiers who'd used their status as a shield. Simone watched the viral spread from her office. Her expression neutral. 23 victims have contacted us in the past 6 hours, she reported to Maya and Mia via video call. All with similar stories. Some with documentation. Ryan, Connor, and Bryce sat in separate holding cells, watching their lives disintegrate in real time on their phones before those were confiscated. Ryan's wife called. She'd seen the video. Divorce papers would be filed Monday. Connor's parents disowned him on social media. Publicly. Bryce's security clearance was immediately suspended. His career in military intelligence, over. By morning, the base commander had announced a complete review of off-duty conduct policies. By afternoon, the Secretary of the Army had ordered a military-wide investigation into harassment and abuse of authority. By evening, Ryan, Connor, and Bryce were facing a combined 31 charges under the UCMJ, plus civilian criminal charges pending in Georgia. Tessa's club became famous overnight. The line stretched 2 blocks. Everyone wanted to drink at the place where abusive soldiers had finally met justice. Maya and Mia watched the news from their hotel suite. 15 interview requests, Maya noted, scrolling through emails. Pentagon wants us to consult on new conduct protocols. 4 universities want us for speaking engagements, Mia added. And CNN wants to do a profile. In the comments sections across social media, previous victims shared their relief. Justice had been delayed, but it was finally real. In his holding cell, Ryan stared at the concrete wall. Everything lost. Career, marriage, respect, future. All because he'd underestimated two women based on their race and gender. The irony was brutal. The system he'd manipulated for years was now crushing him with relentless precision. And as millions watched his downfall, a single truth echoed. Arrogance always extracts its price. Always. 6 months later, Ryan Hale worked the night shift at a warehouse loading dock. Dishonorably discharged, he'd lost everything. His rank, his benefits, his home, his family. 3 years probation, community service, and a permanent record that ensured he'd never wear a uniform again. Connor Hayes delivered food for a rideshare app, his hands still shaking when he had to interact with customers. The nightmares hadn't stopped. Bryce Holt taught high school ROTC in a small town 3 states away, the only military-adjacent job he could find. He avoided mirrors and old friends. The military had completely overhauled its off-duty conduct policies. 29 soldiers were discharged. 63 cases were reviewed. 14 victims were exonerated and financially compensated. Colonel Maya Brooks was promoted to Brigadier General, the youngest black woman to reach that rank in Army history. She now directed diversity and ethics training programs across all branches of the military. Respect isn't demanded through intimidation, she explained in packed auditoriums at West Point, Annapolis, and the Air Force Academy. It's earned through character. Commander Mia Brooks accepted a position as the first female deputy director of the Defense Intelligence Agency's Ethics Division. Her photo graced the cover of Time magazine, the commander who changed military culture. Tessa expanded the Midnight Parlor to 4 locations across Atlanta, each one training staff on bystander intervention and documentation of abuse. Silent witnesses are accomplices became printed on every employee handbook. Inspector Simone Clark was promoted to director of the DoD Civil Rights Investigation Unit, overseeing the most comprehensive reform of military conduct standards in 40 years. On his last day of probation, Ryan saw Maya being interviewed on CNN. "Hatred doesn't define who we are," the general said, her 1-star insignia gleaming. "It defines who we refuse to become." Ryan turned off the television. The weight of irony crushed him. He had held all the power, rank, status, the system behind him. The Brooks sisters had only their dignity and competence. And yet they won. Because in the end, arrogance always loses to excellence. Prejudice always falls before character. And those who underestimate others based on appearance always discover, too late, that they misjudged the right people. The best revenge was never destroying your enemies. It was building something so significant that they became irrelevant. Maya and Mia Brooks proved it. Ryan, Connor, and Bryce learned it when it was far too late. Justice has no gender, no color, only consequences. If this story moved you, if it reminded you that dignity and character always triumph over arrogance and abuse of power, then show your support. Hit that like button. Drop a comment sharing your thoughts. Have you ever witnessed or experienced injustice being corrected? Subscribe to this channel because we're committed to bringing you more real-life stories of justice, redemption, and the powerful moment when those who abuse their authority finally face the consequences they've been avoiding. These stories matter. Your engagement helps them reach people who need to hear them. Together, we're building a community that believes in accountability, celebrates courage, and refuses to stay silent when witnessing wrong. Like, comment, subscribe, and share this story. Justice doesn't just happen, it's documented, it's shared, and it's demanded by people like you who refuse to look away.